social architecture and urban acupuncture, teaching and practice of participatory community design during pandemic by Associate Professor Chong Keng Hua. He teaches in architecture and sustainable design at Singapore University of Technology and Design, SUDT, and he's direct the social urban labs and advocating social architecture, participatory community design, and healthy environment in the region. So, and he was a curator of Singapore Pavilion for Venice Biennale in 2018. So please welcome.
Thanks the organizer for having me today. Okay, I'll go straight to introduce my university, Singapore University of Technology and Design, in short SUTD. I'm in the department called Architecture and Sustainable Design, where I have taught for more than a decade, I think. And for Architecture and Sustainable Design, we are now focusing on these 4 new areas: circular city, future health, future building, and climate change. And we have 4 more other courses, undergraduate courses, mostly engineering, computer science. So you can see that like the name of the school itself hinted, is really driven by technology. So the courses that is actually on the social part is actually not that many, where I can actually share and also conduct some of these modules through electives, option studios. These are the modules that student can choose, but as the name suggests, also these are just one of the many courses they can choose from. So it's not a core course. On the other hand, we also have this program called Undergraduate Research Opportunity Program, in short called Europe. This is where there's a lot more flexibility, where we can involve students from not just architecture, but all across the different pillars, multidisciplinary project, but it's non-graded. So it's really up to the student whether they want to participate. Before the pandemic, actually, we have quite a lot of fun. As you can see the photos, we went to Hanoi, and Professor Kwang Ming was there hosting us as well. So we have collaboration, very nice collaboration with them on working on a playscape in the kindergarten. So this is a group of students who were with us at that time. This is part of the Europe program. And right before the pandemic, actually, I also ran a studio on the option studio on the kindergarten, this time in the south of Vietnam, working with other local university as well. And we managed to actually translate the studio design into actual architecture building, 2-story kindergartens that was built at the end of 2019 and early 2020. So we were there, managed to capture some photos, and some of the students were with us. They already graduated, but they went back to help to do the finishing touch together with our sponsor CapitaLand employees. And we managed to capture this right before the pandemic. But this is the first time actually we are sharing this project with the rest of the world, because we haven't been able to go back since then. So during the pandemic, everything stopped. But I continued to run this class called Social Architecture Theory and Practice. Like the other 2 presentations that we've seen, it's divided into 2 parts. The first half is on methodology and theories, and the second half is on more practical aspect of practice. So before the pandemic, we can do all kinds of more hands-on, real life interaction and projects with the community. During the pandemic, it's really hard. We have 2 months of sort of semi-lockdown, we call circuit breaker, which is when we were conducting this lesson as well. So we have a lot of challenges. And from this kind of setting in the classroom, where we have a very nice ambience and environment that we can have a lot of conducive discussion. We even invite members of community to come and join the class in this setting. But of course, during pandemic, everything is online. So this is what it has become. And it was just me talking to all the names and headshot. Sometimes I wonder, how come most of their camera are spoiled all the time? We can't really get them to switch on the camera. So I have to really think of how are the different ways to engage the student, and we are first time using all these different online tools as well. So I came up with some idea. We used to debate in class. So I translated into online debate and using some of the online tool called, this one is called Girls, to get the groups, different groups to come up with different arguments. And from there, they can have a lively debate online. So this is, we are debating on the issue of whether or not we should have quickly open up all this public space. Remember, that was early 2020, so we didn't know how long this pandemic will last. Nobody expected it to be more than 2 years. So we thought that it would just last a few months. So everybody was very keen to actually open up public spaces. But of course, there are other concerns, and this group particularly thinking that pandemic is there to last, which in a way it happened to be. And how do we redefine public space in future? So there's something that came out very interestingly during the debate. We also use other platforms to brainstorm and discuss. Some of them are because there's some hard theories that we need to teach and inculcate. So it's sometimes difficult. For example, in this class, usually I will get a student to redesign the classroom and use that as a way to translate some of these theories in environmental design and psychology into a real setting and use that for discussion. But online, we have to resort to all kinds of different doodles and brainstorming. We also do mapping, but instead of going down to the actual site, again, using online platform, we see how are the different methods able to allow them to still map different sites virtually. And we teach them interview techniques. So during the normal class, we will have the students interview each other as a practice. In virtual world, I come across this platform called Spatial Chat. It's quite interesting where you're able to move around yourself, and depends on proximity of each other, you are able to hear each other. So you can actually interact with different people as based on your online proximity. So we can have practice different kind of interview technique. And we invited our graduates who then went on to become volunteers on the front line, working with foreign workers in the dormitory. So we use that as a way to have real life interaction with the front line during the pandemic as well. And in 2020, I happened to be the festival director for Singapore Archifest. So aptly that we managed to approach many of these architects who has been practicing social architecture around the region and the world. So I took it as an opportunity to introduce them to our students, or in the other way around, introduce our students to them and get our students to actually interview each of them. So that become an opportunity for us during the pandemic, because usually it's harder for us to reach out to all these very busy people. So we got the students to work in pairs to first conduct case studies of some of these projects. And then after that, we connect them with the speakers and get them to actually interview the speakers for sometimes more than an hour. So it's a really rare chance for our students to get the kind of exposure. With these online resources, I think we really make full use of that. So Anna Ringer is one of them. She was back in Germany, and we are able to have a very in-depth conversation. And then we map out all these different projects and base of this architecture firm on an online interactive map. So this is where the student would then start to able to share some of their works. In 2021, I was also very fortunate to be introduced to this organization through Pacific Rim Community Design Network. Thanks to Jeff, he's here with us, I suppose. And I managed to meet up with all the good people around the different part of the world. and who has already started this movement called Design for the Common Good. So with that, again, trying to leverage on the opportunity to introduce to the students, and the students were able to interview many of the co-founders as well as the architects who are working with the network. Also in a way take this opportunity to get the student to analyze every network and see how they can actually contribute to this larger international network. So we're really, really privileged to be able to meet up with all these wonderful people. NUS the Department of Architecture project is one of the projects that was case study by the students. So very interesting that we are able to ask the student to recreate some of these models and use that for analysis and to learn from the good practice from around the region as well. So we put together this booklet that we uploaded on Issue. I'll share with you the link later. And for the second part, and during the pandemic, it's hard to actually go through this process. In the past, we used to run participatory workshop with the residents going through these design phases to understand their perception and motivation, to map out the assets, to translate into design through participatory process, and to test out some of the prototype. So one of the project I'm currently working on is called Urban Acupuncture. That's basically looking at how we can re-look into some of the city spaces to promote healthy, active living. Especially with the impact of COVID-19, we want to see how the health behaviors of people has changed or not over the last 1-2 years. So we use this method called Q methodology. It's a social science method to, from a very qualitative inputs, we are able to quantify and study it more from a statistical manner. And we also do asset mapping with the community and then translate into some design recommendation and get some feedback. So initially, that's what we thought, because in 2020 and end of 2021, things start to look better. We thought that we can actually start to bring back our community workshop. Instead of a small space, we are proposing to use the entire basketball court inside one of the community center, and we come up with different layout to have different booths so that we are stretching the people as far away as possible from each other. We have holding area, we have a screening area, and then we have different booths. Then we give them voucher and how they walk around the place. We spend a lot of time planning and putting out a proposal, but in the end it was rejected. So I think the rise of Omicron at the end of last year again put everything on hold again. So we have no choice but to resort back to something that's much more guerrilla method, I think, that we just bring our stand, walking around the different district of the sites and engage people one-on-one. So with that, we are still managed to gather quite a large number of feedback. Within a short time, within 1-2 weeks, we are able to get at least like 200 feedback. And then for after a few weeks, we come up with recommendation. We went back again. Within 1-2 weeks, we get another 200 recommendation feedback. So with that, we are able to still come together to some kind of conclusion. We also run online engagement for those who we are not able to reach out to on the street, because most people like ourselves are super busy, so we hardly go down to the market to shop. So we engage them through online, and this is the Q Methods online platform that we are leveraging on. Basically, they use that to rank their priority, and we use that as a way to discuss with them why they prioritize certain thing over the other in terms of the choice of food, nutrition, sleep, rest, and physical exercise. And then we come back to using Miro board as well to brainstorm with students. Each student will then come up with different ideas of urban acupuncture intervention at different spaces in the city. And then we give comments. And in fact, we are prototyping one of them now. hopefully in a few months' time, we can get approval and try to install it in the city. Right, I'll summarize some of the learning points that we have through this online and offline engagement. The online platform initially is really a struggle, but after 1 year, I think the students got used to that, and it actually create a new opportunity that we have a chance to interact and interview many practicing architects from around the world. So I think this is a very good opportunity. Like the first presenter also shared, there's a lot more cross institution and cross-national kind of interaction. And students also feedback that they find the class refreshing, interactive, fun, and engaging using all the different online collaborative tools. One even mentioned that every lesson is different, so they really looking forward to the next lesson coming up and see what they can expose to and learn. The in-class group exercise can be very interesting and meaningful despite using online. And one student also shared that it is providing a very raw and honest platform to engage a different side of architecture that's different from the typical studio or technical classes. But on the flip side, one student also feel that they are being exploited to be forced to work for architects or to be forced for to work for the network to understand all these different projects. But of course, we will try to balance such that we are not exploiting them, but it's actually a win-win situation for all. And some students also feedback there are too many platforms, too many methods introduced within such a short time can be very overwhelming. So it's something that for us to curate better in future. But ultimately, we also feel that online still cannot beat the actual physical fieldwork interaction with the real community. So I'll learn from the speakers today. We'll definitely try to go hybrid in future. With that, thank you very much. These are the 2 publications that we have put up online. Feel free to access them through this QR code. I'd like to thank my teaching assistant and research assistant for assisting me during this very, very tough 2 years. Thank you.